Good afternoon, crochet crew, and welcome back to OMG Crochet and Crafts. Today we are going to be working on our Halloween costumes, and we're making a witch's hat. So for this project you will need some t-shirt yarn. I'm using the Yarn Art Macaroni, and I'm doing a black one. So you don't have to use t-shirt yarn. You could use a super bulky weight yarn instead. I just find that this is super easy to work with, and I like the hat that it's created. And you will also need a 9mm hook, and then of course you'll need things like tapestry needle and scissors. That is everything we need, so let's jump right in and get started. So to start this project off, we'll start it off with a slip knot, like so. And then we are going to crochet, that's not right at all actually. We are going to start this project off with a magic ring. So we wrap around, pop our hook through, and there we go. So from there, we chain one, and into this circle we are going to single crochet 6 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, pull that out a little bit, and then you just tighten your bottom loop. Okay, so this project is going to be worked in continuous rounds, so there's no joining each row and then chaining one. So we're just going to continue working each stitch all the way around. Okay, right, now you don't have to do this if you're like me and you like counting, but I'm going to place a stitch marker into our first stitch, like so, because on that stitch in every single row, for the first, I don't know, 10 to 15 rows, we're going to be increasing. But if you're like me and you like to count every round, you don't have to use a stitch marker. It's also, you don't really need to close the stitch marker if you are using one, because you'll be moving it up every round. Okay, so we are going to start by increasing into that first stitch. So in order to increase, we are going to do 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. So there's 1 and 2. You'll have to excuse the cat. He has been very talkative today, and he is talking to me right now. Okay, and then we're going to move that stitch marker from that first stitch into the one we've just created. Okay, and then every other stitch for this row is just going to get 1 single crochet. 1, like so. Okay, and we're now back at our first stitch. So into that first stitch again, we're going to do 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. And our stitch marker goes into the first stitch again. And then for the rest of the row, we're going to work just plain single crochets. There we go. And back at our stitch marker again, and we are going to work 2 single crochets into that first stitch. And the stitch marker goes into that first one. And then single crochets for the rest of the round. Okay, so we're going to continue working that same row, which is 2 single crochets in the first stitch and then single crochets for the rest of the round. So we're going to continue working that same row until we've got 20 stitches going round. So that should be another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows. So that should be another 10 rows. So I'm going to get that done and I will come back once I've got 20 stitches going round. So this is where we're at now. This is 20 stitches going round, and as you can see, we're starting to create the cone. You'll also see that it's not an exact cone. The shape does wobble a bit. I think that is what I'm going for, by the way. That's deliberate. I think that, you know, witches' hats aren't a perfect cone, and I think that extra little shape to it just gives it more character. So what we're going to do now is hold on, bear with me. So what we're going to do now is we're going to divide this into 2. So you've got a stitch marker on your first stitch, so we're also going to put a stitch marker on your 11th stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I've lost count now, silly me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. And the pattern is, it's now going to be a 2-row pattern repeat. So on this first row, we're going to do an increase. So let's go 1, and 2, and pop up a stitch marker back in, and then single crochet to the next marker. And then we're going to increase in this one. So 1, 2, and place our stitch marker back in there. And then we will single crochet until the end of the row. Oh dear. And that, my friends, is why we close our stitch markers. So let's go back and find the increase. There it is. And that is the increase stitch there. We'll close it this time. Okay, so the first row you're going to increase in the stitch in both of your stitch markers, and then on your second row you're going to increase on just the first stitch marker. 1, 2, place our stitch marker back in. So my yarn keeps tangling itself up. Okay, so we've increased on our first one. So now we're going to do single crochets for the rest of the row. Out and pop it in this stitch here. Goodness me, I'm not having much luck with these stitch markers at all, am I? There we go. And now we'll single crochet for the rest of the row. Okay, so yes, like I was saying, on your first row you're going to increase at both of your stitch markers, and on your second row you're going to increase at the first stitch marker only, and these two rows will need to be repeated until you've got 33 stitches going round. So that should be 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 rows. Okay, so we've got 23 stitches now. We need to do another 7 rows and we'll have 33. So I'm going to get those done and I will be back with you in just a sec. So this is what it looks like at 33 stitches. So you'll notice that the increases, you'll notice that this side is larger than this side. That's going to be normal because you increased more at this stage than you did at this stage. But that's neither here nor there. So we're going to leave the stitch marker in at the beginning of the row, but we're going to move the stitch marker at the edge there. Okay, so yeah, we're now going to count out to stitch 17. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay. And that is where we're going to pop that. Okay. So we're now going to increase every row. You're going to increase at the beginning of the row and halfway through as well. And we're going to continue to increase like that until the hat fits your head. Now I'm probably going to hear a chuckle from the spare room when I say this, but I've got quite a fat head. So I need to increase until I believe I had 54 stitches. Yes, so I need 54 stitches for this hat to fit on my head, but you increase until sorry, it's going to be 55 because there's an uneven number of stitches, but we'll get to that point in a second. You increase until the hat fits on your head. Once the hat fits on your head, you're going to need to continue to increase until you've got a multiple of 6. So that'll be 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, 60. okay, you need to have a multiple of six stitches before we can start adding the brim to the hat. So I'm going to continue to increase twice a row at the beginning and halfway through until I get 54 stitches. Once I've got 54, we're going to start adding the brim to the hat. But yeah, that's where we're at the moment. It's quite a cute little shape. I love the little twist in it, little crinkle, it gives it more character. But yes, continue to increase twice a row until the hat fits your head, and then increase until you have a multiple of 6. Okay, I will be back once I've got 54 stitches on my hat. So there we have our hat with the 54 stitches going around at the bottom. So once you're sure that it fits on your head and you have a multiple of 6, sorry, I was just putting it on my head to make sure it fit. So yeah, you've got multiples of 6 and the hat fits on your head. We're going to grab some stitch markers. So you're going to take your number of stitches, so I've got 54, and you're going to divide that by 6, so for me that's 9. And so you're going to need another 4 stitch markers in total. Okay, so you're going to place a stitch marker every 9 stitches. So we've got 1 there, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oops, where did it go? There it is. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okie dokie. So we've now got 6 stitch markers going around the top, as you can see. And we're now going to work on the brim of the hat. Okay. And the trick to this is that you're going to need to increase every row to make each row that little bit wider than the row before. Okay, so that the brim goes out and relatively flat. Now the brim of this isn't going to sit flat, it's going to curl up, but again, that adds character to it. So at each one of your stitch markers, you're going to turn that 1 stitch into 2 and then move your stitch marker up. Okay, so I'm starting with 54. And I'm going to keep moving up until I have 72 stitches. And you can do the same. Use 72 as your target. Once you've got 72, we're going to increase the number of stitch markers we've got on here. But for the time being, we're just going to work in single crochets going around. But at every stitch marker, you're going to put 2 single crochets into that 1 stitch and move your stitch marker up. So I'm starting with 54 stitches, which means I'll do 3 rows to get myself to 72 stitches. So I'm going to get that done and then I will be back to show you. So I've come back early. I've not had 72 stitches yet, but there's something I failed to take into account when I divided the brim of my hat into 6, is that if we increase in the same place each round, we're going to create sort of a hexagon shape. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to keep the stitch marker in the beginning of the round, but I'm going to remove the rest of them. So in the first round, I increased every 9 stitches. In the second round, I'm going to increase on every 10th stitch. However, I'm going to start that from, I think from the 5th stitch of the round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crochet 5 stitches first. I'm going to move my first stitch my stitch marker up so I know where the beginning of the round is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and now on this 5th stitch, I'm going to increase. So 1, 2 in there, like so. And now I'm going to increase 5 more times every 10th stitch. So I will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then increase on the 10th. And then again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then increase on the 10th. Just pull some more yarn off the skein. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then increase on the 10th. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then increase on the 10th. And then last one for this round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and increase on the 10th. And then we just finish off our row. There we go. Okay, so for the next row, we're going to be increasing every 11 stitches. And I think I am going to work, let's see, we did increase on the 5th, didn't we? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I think we're going to work into move across to the 9th stitch this time, and increase on the 9th. So 1, and just move our stitch marker up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, we're going to do it on the 11th. 8, 9, 10, and then 11 is the increase. So I'm going to do another 5 increases every 11 stitches. I'm going to get that done and I will join you again at the end of my round. Okay, so as you can see, we're starting to get a bit of a brim on our hat. This is what it looks like from the side. You can see we're starting to develop this little section here. Okay, so we've now got 72 stitches going around the brim, and this is where we're going to increase the number of increases that we do. So once you've got 72, you will now be able to put 8 increases per row in. So we're going to start doing that this row, which means you're going to increase every 9 stitches. So I'm going to get the first round of increases done. By the end of the round, you should have 80 stitches. So every 9 stitches, I'll be back when I have 80 stitches. Okay, we now have 80 stitches going around the brim. So what I'm going to do is I am going to move in 3 stitches. 1, 2, and increase on the 3rd. And then every 10 stitches, I'm going to increase again. So I've got 7 more increases to do, and I'll do it every 10 stitches. So I'll do that, and I'll be back at the end of the round. So we're back at the beginning of the round. We now have 88 stitches. You can see that the brim of the hat is growing. This time round, I am going to move in 7 stitches, I think. So 1, let me just place my stitch marker back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and increase on the 7th. 2. Okay, so this round we're going to work an increase every 11 stitches, and then by the end of the round you should have 96 stitches. So I'm going to get that done and I will see you again at the end of the round. Right, we now have 96 stitches going around. This is the hat from the side or the bottom, whatever you like. This is going to be my second to last row, I think. Maybe my last row. I'm going to have a look at it after this one. So I am going to increase into this very first stitch here. Let's take the stitch marker out. Let's do an increase into the stitch. Like so. Stitch marker back in. I'm dragging my ghost with me. Up that way. And we are now going to increase every 12th stitch. Okay, so by the end of this row there should be 104 stitches in your brim. So again, I am going to get that done and I'll be back at the end of this round. Okie dokie, so I now have 104 stitches on my hat. I've pulled my yarn through at the end here. I've popped the hat on my head. It looks exactly how I want it to look. So that is my hat done. If you want the brim of your hat wider, you can continue to increase. You'll do 8 increases around the brim. I think you could probably do maybe another 1.5 inches at 8 increases before it starts looking a bit funny. But don't forget, if you're going to do that, you need to stagger where you're doing your increases. So sometimes they'll need to be at the beginning of the row, sometimes in the middle of the row, sometimes at the end of the row, sometimes 3/4 of the way through, just to make sure that you have a round brim and not a hexagon. Because if you increase in the same stitch every time, it's going to create corners on your brim and you don't want that. So I am just going to get the end of this woven away. But that is my witch's hat tutorial. As always, I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like, follow, subscribe, press all of the buttons, share with all of your friends. And happy Halloween. Good luck.